Atlanta is one of hip-hop's capitals, the birthplace of legends, the city that shaped trap music, and a cultural powerhouse where every star wants to prove themselves. So when NBA YoungBoy, one of the most controversial and influential rappers of his generation, announced back-to-back shows in the city, fans saw it as a historic moment. The first show went as expected, energy, chaos, and a packed arena filled with thousands of screaming fans. But the second, it never happened. Days before the scheduled performance, State Farm Arena canceled the show without giving a clear reason. Fans demanded answers, and the rumor mill exploded. At the center of the storm was a strange moment from YoungBoy's first show, a supposed key to Atlanta presentation that city officials later denied ever approving. What started as a celebration spiraled into backlash, confusion, and eventually a canceled concert. But was the key the real reason Atlanta shut down his show? Or was it something deeper, politics, image, and YoungBoy's own complicated legacy? NBA YoungBoy has always been larger than life. From YouTube dominance to chart-topping singles, his connection to fans is unmatched. He's not the polished, corporate-friendly star like Drake or Kendrick. He's raw, unpredictable, and messy. And that's exactly why his supporters ride for him so hard. When he announced 2 shows in Atlanta, the anticipation was wild. The city already has a complicated relationship with YoungBoy. He's not an Atlanta native, but his influence is deeply felt in the streets and online. His music blasts from cars in neighborhoods across the city. His name trends on local social media pages. And his controversial lifestyle often finds its way into conversations about the culture. The first night at State Farm Arena was pure chaos, in the best way possible. Fans filled every seat, rapping every lyric word for word. Social media lit up with clips of his performance, and supporters celebrated his takeover of Atlanta. But the moment that grabbed the most attention wasn't a song, a guest performance, or even the crowd. It was when YoungBoy was handed a massive golden key to the city. On stage, under bright lights, it looked official, as though Atlanta itself was honoring him. Fans cheered, thinking it symbolized the city embracing one of rap's most polarizing figures. For YoungBoy, who has often felt rejected by mainstream institutions, this looked like validation. But it would turn out to be the start of something much darker. At first, the key presentation seemed like a harmless stunt. After all, cities often hand symbolic keys to celebrities as a way to honor them. But the next day, the Atlanta mayor's office made a shocking statement. The city had nothing to do with it. Officials claimed Atlanta hasn't issued keys in years and that the gesture fans saw on stage was not authorized by them. That raised a huge question. Who actually gave YoungBoy the key? Reports suggested it came from county officials or local representatives, not the city government. But by then, the damage was done. The denial created an embarrassing contrast. On stage, it looked like a major honor. Offstage, officials were scrambling to distance themselves. Critics mocked the presentation as fake, and memes flooded social media. Instead of headlines celebrating YoungBoy's performance, the story became about whether he had been duped or whether the city was embarrassed to be tied to him in the first place. For a rapper who already fights accusations, arrests, and controversies in his career, this honor turned into another weapon for his critics. And the worst part? It made Atlanta look like it wanted nothing to do with him. Once the mayor's office denied involvement, backlash exploded. On Twitter, fans accused the city of disrespecting YoungBoy. Others accused local politicians of being embarrassed to honor someone with his kind of criminal record. Memes mocked the fake key, with some suggesting it was a stage PR move to hype the tour. Local leaders publicly reinforced that they had nothing to do with the presentation, essentially leaving YoungBoy out to dry. Atlanta is a city where hip-hop is deeply tied to politics and image. Leaders often embrace artists who represent success and growth. But with YoungBoy's reputation, years of legal issues, house arrest, and his image as a street rapper who doesn't play by the industry rules, honoring him was bound to spark controversy. By the time his second Atlanta show approached, the key was less of a trophy and more of a scandal. The city wanted distance, the headlines were ugly, and fans were watching closely. Then, just days before YoungBoy's second Atlanta concert, State Farm Arena announced it was canceled. No long explanation, no official reasoning, just canceled. Fans were furious. Some had already traveled, booked hotels, and taken time off work. They flooded social media with complaints, demanding answers. The arena offered refunds, but no clear story about why the concert was called off. The timing was suspicious. With the Key to Atlanta controversy dominating the news cycle, it was impossible not to connect the dots. Was the cancellation about logistics? Or was it about damage control, a way for Atlanta to quietly cut ties and avoid more embarrassment? So what really happened? Theories vary. Some believe it was pure politics. Local leaders didn't want another high-profile YoungBoy show tied to Atlanta's name after the Key fiasco. With negative press swirling, pulling the plug was the safest move. Others think it was about image. Atlanta has worked hard to market itself as a business hub, a city of growth and opportunity. Associating with YoungBoy's controversies might have been too risky. There's also the possibility it came down to YoungBoy himself. His performances often include diss records, raw lyrics, and moments that stir up headlines. Promoters and officials may have feared the second show would escalate things even further. Without an official explanation, speculation is all fans have. But in the court of public opinion, the narrative was clear. YoungBoy's image had caught up to him, and Atlanta wasn't willing to take the risk again. Atlanta wasn't the first stop to collapse. Earlier in the tour, YoungBoy's Chicago show was also canceled. Fans began connecting the dots, noticing a troubling pattern. For an artist like YoungBoy, cancellations aren't just a financial problem. They create a credibility problem. Venues get cautious, cities hesitate to book him, promoters worry about risk, and fans, even the most loyal, start to question whether the tour can be trusted. YoungBoy has always thrived off being the outsider, the rebel, the star who doesn't need the mainstream. But when venues cancel and cities back away, it chips at his empire. It shows that no matter how big your fan base is, controversy can still shut doors. In the end, the Atlanta cancellation was more than just one lost night. It was a statement. A city that represents the heart of hip-hop publicly pulled away from him. Whether it was politics, image, or performance risk, the message was clear. YoungBoy may have the fans, but he doesn't have the institutions. For YoungBoy, this moment adds another chapter to a complicated legacy. He's one of the most streamed artists in the world with an army of supporters who see him as the voice of the streets. But he's also one of the most controversial, with a reputation that makes officials nervous. The question now is whether he can overcome it. Can YoungBoy's career continue to thrive when major cities are canceling his shows? Or is his own image becoming the greatest obstacle to his success? Atlanta gave him a stage, then took it away. And for YoungBoy, the fallout may be just beginning. The cancellation of NBA YoungBoy's second Atlanta concert wasn't just a scheduling issue. It was a cultural clash between a rapper who thrives on controversy and a city that couldn't afford the heat. The key to Atlanta was supposed to be an honor. Instead, it became a scandal that symbolized YoungBoy's complicated place in hip-hop, celebrated by fans but rejected by the institutions that hold power. In the end, Atlanta's decision leaves us with a bigger question. Is YoungBoy being unfairly targeted by politics and perception, or is he simply living with the consequences of his own reputation? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. When Atlanta shut down YoungBoy's second show, it sent a message to the entire industry. Even in hip-hop's capital, no stage is guaranteed.